Welcome to Data Talk, presented by IDEA Data and Research. DATA stands for Data Analysis Techniques Applied. Data Talk is a series of webinars for Arkansas's local education agencies on the use of data, particularly for special education staff. In this episode of Data Talk, we will present how to calculate a risk ratio. What is a risk ratio? Risk ratio is a measure of the risk of a certain event happening in one group compared to the risk of the same event happening in another group. The use of risk ratios in education. A risk ratio is a method of identifying racial ethnic disproportionate representation in education subpopulations like special education or AP courses. It can be used to examine the racial ethnic representation in other areas, such as disciplinary actions as well. It is used to examine both over and underrepresentation of racial ethnic populations. Preparing for the calculation. To answer the question, is there a particular race over or underrepresented in my district special education program, we must first define what is being compared. For our example we are about to explore, we are comparing the district special education child count by race to the district's enrollment by race. So what data is needed? We need the district special education child count by race and the district enrollment by race. As we continue preparing for the calculation, where can you find the data? The most recent special education child count data by race can be extracted from the student management system, or you can log into MySped resource and print an aggregate report by race. To get the same year data for enrollment, the district can extract from the student management system or go to the ADE Data Center and download the Cycle 2 Enrollment by Race report to Excel. For our example, we will use the following special education and enrollment counts by race. Hispanic special education 140, enrollment 552. American Indian, Alaska Native, special education 25, enrollment 221. Asian, special education 41, enrollment 589. Black, African American, special education 1,146, enrollment 7,447. Hawaiian Pacific Islander Special Education 10, enrollment 133. White Special Education 945, enrollment 6,797. Two or more races or multi-race Special Education 244, enrollment 597. The total for special education is 2,551, enrollment 16,336. The basic calculation formula. To calculate the risk ratio, we first must calculate the risk for students of a particular race. In this example, we will look at the risk for students with a race ethnicity of Hispanic to be placed into special education services. Continuing with the basic calculation formula, the formula is comprised of three calculations. First, the risk for special education Hispanic ethnic group, which is the numerator of the risk ratio. The risk for the special education non-Hispanic ethnic group, which is the denominator of the risk ratio, and then the risk ratio itself. The basic formula, risk for Hispanic students. Number of students in the special education child count identified as Hispanic. For this example, the number is 140, divided by the number of students enrolled in the district identified as Hispanic. For this example is 552. 140 divided by 552 equals 0.2536, or 25.36%. This means that students identified as Hispanic have a 25% risk of being placed into special education. Now let's look at the basic formula on risk for non-Hispanic students. The number of students in the special education child count not identified as Hispanic. For this example, the number is 2,411, divided by the number of students enrolled in the district not identified as Hispanic, which is 15,784. 2,411 divided by 15,784 equals 0.1527, or 15.27%. This means that students not identified as Hispanic have a 15.27% risk of being placed into special education. Now we get to our third formula, the risk ratio for Hispanic students. The risk for Hispanic students was 0.2536. We divide that by the risk for non-Hispanic students, which was 0.1527. So the risk ratio formula is 0.2536 divided by 0.1527, which equals 1.661. A risk ratio of 1.661 means that Hispanic students are 1.66 times more likely to be placed in special education compared to other ethnic racial groups. Continuing the calculation. The calculation is repeated for each of the 7 racial ethnic groups. When generating the risk ratios for different subgroups, it is important to know what comparison data is to be used. For special education in the areas of identification and disability category, the comparison group is the district enrollment. For educational environment and discipline, the comparison group is the special education child count. However, if you're looking at other programs such as AP courses or gifted and talented, the comparison group would be the district enrollment. Continuing with the calculation. Instead of calculating each race individually, the formula can be entered into a spreadsheet. The following slide will show you the math logic for the formula. In this chart, across the top are the 7 race categories: Hispanic, American Indian Alaskan Native, Asian, Black, Hawaiian Pacific Islander, White, and multiracial, and then the total. Coming down the far left column is the row headers. The number of students in the October 1 enrollment. Each cell moving to the right is labeled A through H. The next row is the number of students with disabilities, and each cell moving to the right is labeled I through P. Having the cells labeled provide guidance in setting up the calculation in the spreadsheet. The next row is the risk index with formulas in each cell to calculate the risk. The last row is the relative risk ratio with formulas in each cell to calculate the risk ratio. Please be aware of the parentheses and brackets in the formula. They are critical to getting the correct calculation. Remember to follow the math logic. Thank you for reviewing Data Talk. We hope you have found it to be helpful and will join us for upcoming webinars. If you wish to contact us, you may do so through the mail at IDEA Data and Research, University of Arkansas at Little Rock, 2801 South University Avenue, Education 209, Little Rock, Arkansas 72204. Our phone number is 501-683-7219. Our fax number is 501-569-8238. If you have any questions, you can contact Dr. Jody Fields at jafields@ualr.edu.